How's it, guys? This is Dayvy FP and welcome back to another Fantasy Premier League video here on my channel. Now in this video we're going to be going over the Gameweek 6 Wildcard Draft. This week we're actually going to spice things up a little bit. We're going to be looking at two drafts, not just one. The first draft is going to be what we spoke about in the preview yesterday. So if you haven't gone and checked out that video, go check it out, link down in the description below. We spoke about how you don't necessarily need a premium defender, especially those Liverpool assets with Virgil van Dijk out. How's that going to affect that defense? So I've made a draft without a premium defender in it to just show you what you can get out of that midfield and that forward department. And then the second draft is going to be a little bit more of a conservative draft, a little bit more of a draft that I personally would go for if you're on your wildcard, if you don't want to be too much out there and not too maverick. So if that's something you're interested in, sit back, relax, and let's get into it. So a new season calls for a new sponsor, but here on the Dayvy FPL channel, we like our old. So I've brought back the old sponsor, OneFootball, but with a completely new revamped app. Yes, OneFootball has gone over a complete marketing revamp, new logo, new everything. I've checked it out, looks really good. They kind of took the old app, but just made it better. So I'm really appreciative of that. If you want to go check them out, link down in the description below to go download the app. If you don't know who they are, they're the biggest app on iOS and Android, so go check them out. I personally use them, so I can recommend them from a personal level. So user suggestion, I can't really remember who it was, so just thank you to who suggested this. Recommended that each week we do a wild card, we should look back on the wild card from last week and just see how well it did. So no, I'm not just doing this because of a good wild card week. The previous game weeks, to be fair, haven't been that good for wild cards, but this game week was definitely a good wild card week. So if you did use the chip, congratulations. Hopefully you went for a draft similar to this one. I think most people in general did it because if you were wildcarding, you probably were looking at Son and Kane, and those two were basically who made up the most points this week. This draft was captaincy with the Kane. I just kind of decided to captain Kane in this imaginary team, as in the previous videos last week and in the deadline stream, I said that I would go for Harry Kane as I thought that he was the best captaincy option. So 92 points for this wildcard draft was absolutely insane. The thing to note about this draft as well is that there's actually a lot of team value that's changed. I actually couldn't afford this draft when I made it again, and that's due to price rises from Salah, Kane, Son. I don't think Grealish has had another price rise, but Calvert-Lewin definitely has. So if you did use your wild card, not only was it a good week for the team value, but also it was a good week for the points. And hopefully your team is set up nicely for the upcoming games. Unfortunately, this draft did have the double Liverpool defense, which you might be reconsidering now due to Van Dijk's injury, as I think it's going to affect it from a defensive point of view. But they do have some nice fixtures coming up, so maybe you want to hold on to those Liverpool assets. I think that this could be a cause for a little bit more patience in that lineup. Wouldn't have played Souček because I think that the defenders had a better fixture than him. Even though West Ham went and scored 3 goals, unfortunately he didn't get any returns. Brewster still looks like a good option, although he only came off the bench for about 30 minutes in that Sheffield United game. So it's going to be interesting to see if he can manage to secure a starting place. But enough about the team from last week. Let's get into the drafts for this week. So this is the first draft I was talking about, and now in this draft, the interesting thing, we're not going for a premium defender. So all the defenders here are under that 5.0 million mark, no premiums or mid-ranges even, and I still think this is a pretty even team in the defense, the midfield, and the forward department. You can just see there how much money you have in that midfield and that attack. You can get some really quality players that will be going through. Starting off in goal, we have Martinez, who's just had price rise after price rise because of the form that Aston Villa have been in. They've managed to keep the most clean sheets in the Premier League at the moment, and they definitely look like a side that's going to be keeping more clean sheets. I don't know what it is about Aston Villa this year, but from a defensive point of view and an attacking point of view, they just look so solid. So Martinez is definitely the keeper I'd be going for. You can, however, rotate this if you don't want to spend 4.8 on a keeper and maybe want to stick it at 4.5, and I'll be checking that out in the next draft. I did an example of what I'm talking about, and I'll be going over that a little bit later. But Martinez definitely, if you want to have a set and forget keeper for the rest of the season. We've spoken about that double game week coming in from game week 16 to around the game week 18 mark. We don't know exactly when it's going to be in, but Aston Villa will definitely be having a double game week, and therefore your keeper will also be having a double game week. So nice little added bonus to having Martinez. The rest of the defense, we've got Taylor. Now Taylor's a little bit more of a placeholder here. You can stick him in if you want to, but if you don't really favor that Burnley defense, you can go for any other 4.5. Walker Peters is another one that springs to mind, or maybe another club that you're looking at. So Taylor definitely, maybe you want to double up on that Aston Villa defense. You can fit Target in here. I think Konza is 4.6, so that's a little bit more expensive. In this draft, I think that I had about 0.6 in the bank, so I think you guys will definitely be able to afford it because my team value is not looking great at the moment, and I'm pretty sure yours will be a little bit higher. Then we have Kilman. Apologies if I am butchering that name. Don't think I am butchering it too much, but he's just had a price rise last night. I'm recording this on Wednesday afternoon, so this is the most fresh price rises that you're going to be getting, as I'll be releasing this in a couple of hours. But Kilman at 4.1, I think looks a great shot. Even if he doesn't start in the future that many, I think for the next couple game weeks, he's definitely going to be in a starting position. And with Mitchell, kind of a little bit of speculation about Patrick van Arnold coming back, I think that Kilman is definitely a boat to get on, because if he starts and becomes a starting player, his price is definitely going to be rising. So Wolves have some nice fixtures coming up, and from a defensive point of view, they've seemed to have gotten a lot better at their defensive situation, and I think that there's going to be a couple of clean sheets coming up. And at 4.1 was man of the match in their previous game, so he does look like a starter for the next couple game weeks. Then we have Lamptey, and now we've spoken about Lamptey a little bit throughout the season and just how attacking he is. I mean, he just loves getting forward, and with that massive acceleration that he has, one of the best accelerations that I've seen in football at the moment. Definitely at 4.7, I think he still provides some value. Now Brighton, the annoying thing about them, which seems to be the occurrence with them over the last couple of seasons, they actually don't concede many shots, but they do concede quite a lot of goals. Now I don't know whether that's just the opponents take shots in a better position, or Matt Ryan is just not doing a good job at saving them, but I do think over the rest of the season they'll rack up a couple of clean sheets, and with Lamptey having that attacking threat, definitely some hauls are on the horizon. Then Masuaku from West Ham, another team that are actually playing quite well. Now in the first 15 minutes against Spurs, they were playing dreadfully, but I also think that was due to the quality of Spurs. I mean, those goals weren't the easiest to concede. It wasn't really shoddy defending. It was pretty good plays from Spurs and some good shooting from Harry Kane and Son. But Masuaku is creating a lot of big chances, and at 4.5 million provides great value. And West Ham are a little bit similar to Brighton. I think throughout the rest of the season, they'll rack up the occasional clean sheet, and at least you still have that attacking threat. Then we have Leeds with Ayling. Now, I thought that Leeds played really well against Wolves in the first half. In the second half, they let things slide a little bit. I don't know if that was the game plan of Wolves, maybe to sit back a little bit and then invite the pressure in the second half when Leeds were a little bit tired. But Ayling was getting forward a lot. The only thing that worries me about Ayling is that he does like to trip the ref every now and again, and that usually leads to a yellow card. So that's just something to keep your eyes on. He seems a little bit of a yellow card magnet, but I think with his attacking threat and how well Leeds are adapting to the Premier League at the moment, I do think that he's a good option to have, and at least he's 4.5. The midfield is where things get really excited, and that's the reason why I think that you could kind of negate a premium defender if you can afford the likes of this midfield and this attack. So Basuma, not going to talk much about him. At 4.5, great value it looks like. At least he's getting a couple shots. He actually has some really decent shot stats for a 4.5, but we're not going to be talking about him too much. We're talking about this next four. We got Salah, Sterling, Son, and Grealish. Now Sterling is the only player you could maybe downgrade if you wanted a different forward, or maybe you wanted a Robertson or a Trent in your defense. You could simply just downgrade Sterling, but Sterling has some nice fixtures coming up. There are a couple of away games, but I think if Man City managed to handle them like they've handled these teams in previous seasons, we could be on for some good hauls. So Salah, Sterling, Son, I think that's a great midfield to have. Grealish complements them perfectly, as at 7.2 million is great value in that kind of mid-range midfield bracket, and I'm expecting him to get some returns in the upcoming game week. I know in the last game week he didn't do too well, but it was quite a close game against Leicester, and I'm pretty sure against the easier opposition, especially with that sea of green inverted commas that they do have, I think he's going to get some great returns. And then up front, we basically just have two strikers to talk about. We've got Calvert-Lewin and Kane, two of the most informed players at the moment. I think these two are going to be competing for who can get the most goals throughout the season. Look like great shouts. And then finally, we've got Brewster. I've spoken about him a little in the review of the wildcard last week. Basically, if he plays, he doesn't have to get a goal every single game. We get 4.5, an occasional goal every now and again will be perfectly fine. But let's get on and look at the second draft that we are going to be considering. So I spoke about that kind of rotation. If you don't want Martinez, you can fit in another player. So what I've done here is I've taken Ayling out and I've taken Martinez out, and I've replaced them with Meslier and Konza. So Konza has a little bit of an attacking threat off those set pieces as a centre back. Looks to be playing quite well, so I don't think he's going to be dropped at any moment. But I do think having Martinez in there could be a little bit more value, because then I think the Leeds defenders are a little bit more attacking than the Aston Villa defenders, if you kind of know what I'm talking about. I always prefer a defender to have a little bit more of an attacking threat. So the rest of the defense, the only thing we've kind of changed here is we've introduced ALEXANDER-ARNOLD and we've introduced Chilwell. So Chilwell and ALEXANDER-ARNOLD, they've got massive attacking threat, and I do think from now till the end of the season they'll be racking up those clean sheets. I mean, the premium teams, I think they're going to have some regression in those defensive stats, and we're going to be getting some more clean sheets from these two teams. And the nice thing about them, they still offer some more attacking threat. You can also go for Robertson, who might be your favorite option if you want some more budget, but I think Trent, it's kind of a 50-50 between those two. Robertson's playing better at the moment, but Trent can always kind of switch it on. And then in the midfield, we've downgraded Sterling to James Rodriguez. So So James is starting off the season with an absolute cracker, racking up those assists and those goals as well. So he looks like a great shout. Even at 8 million, he has had a couple of price rises, but I still think he's great value. And to complement Calvert-Lewin with that double up in that Everton attack, I think it's going to be quite a treat. So that's kind of the only thing I've changed here. I've downgraded Sterling, and that's allowed me to upgrade to some more premium options in the defense. So go for this draft if you want to be a little bit more conservative, as I do think that the defensive stats, as I said, are going to regress, and we're going to see a little bit more clean sheets from those premium sides, as well as some attacking threat, because these two teams have really nice fixtures coming up. So this is basically a wrap up the video, guys. Hopefully you did enjoy it. Please don't forget to like it if you did, and subscribe if you're new or have not subscribed yet. I'll be checking you guys tomorrow for the team selection, and please be reminded that it is actually a Friday deadline, so get those teams in. We'll be talking about that a little bit more in the team selection, and hopefully that'll be your final reminder. So I'll be checking you guys as well on my Twitter at DayvyFPL, and I'm going to be signing off. This has been DayvyFPL, and I'm out. Cheers, bye.